Folks, hello. Thank you for coming. We're here, of course, for this unfortunate incident that happened this morning with two of our racehorses. Behind me here are Joe Harper, the CEO of the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, and Dr. Rick Arthur, the Chief Medical Officer for the California Horse Racing Board. They will both address you. We'll take a few brief questions afterwards, and then we'll wrap up. Joe?
Thanks, Mac. Usually I'm not at a loss for words, but I'll tell you, this morning it was a tough one. You know, for the past 3 years, Del Mar has tried to do everything we can to come up with solutions for these horses being injured. We've come up with stuff that has seemed to work. New protocols, medication issues. We've tried everything we can for 3 years to have the safest track in the country, and we pretty much got there. Then this happens. These things are very, very rare, extremely rare type of accidents. I've been running tracks for 50 years. I think I've probably seen about 4. Unfortunate. We've certainly investigated what's happened. It seems everybody did the right thing. There was no cause for this thing other than a loose horse. So it, you know, although it is an accident, I mean, we're going to keep our vigil up. We're going to keep with our protocols. We're going to expand even more what we can do over the next year to keep this industry as healthy as possible. We've tried so hard to change the culture of this industry, to convince all of us that we need to make changes, that we are on the cusp. And hopefully we'll continue, get over this, and continue to keep this track and this industry as safe as possible. Rick, you want to say a few words?
I'm Dr. Rick Arthur, Equine Medical Director at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, where I'm assigned full-time to the California Horse Racing Board. This morning, Carla Gaines, a 2-year-old colt, Charge a Bunch, was preparing to work, wheeled through his rider, Giovanni Franco, bolted and ran head-on collision into a horse of Bob Baffert's named Carson Valley. Carson Valley and Charge a Bunch sustained serious injuries. Both of them died on the racetrack. From the clinical examination of the horses, it appears both suffered cervical fractures, and both were dead on the racetrack. The rider of Carson Valley, Acel Espinoza, is apparently fine. Both horses will be sent to the California Animal Health and Food Safety Laboratory at San Bernardino, where, per standard operating procedures for California, in the California Horse Racing Board, the horses will be necropsied and will have more precise diagnosis at that time. Really don't have much other to say on that, and I think we're willing to handle a few questions.
Did you clarify the injuries from the riders? You mentioned Saul Espinosa and somebody else, or it just was just...
You'll have to ask somebody else about the riders. I take care of the horses, but my understanding is that the riders are both fine. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Joe, what's the protocol for warm-ups, and was it followed correctly this morning when this happened?
Joe, you...
I'm sorry, what?
What's the protocol for warm-ups on the track in the morning, and was it followed correctly this morning?
Yes, everything was followed correctly this morning. Yeah, these horses, one was galloping, as I understand it, and there were 3 horses that were breaking from the starting gate out there for workout, and the horse made a U-turn that was galloping Carla Gaines' horse. Jock came off and went into one of those 3 horses.
And I know you talked about all the things you guys have done to try to curb these horse deaths. Is this just part of the reality of if there is horse racing, there will be deaths?
You know what? Horses run into each other at tracks, in the farm, out in the wilderness. This is just one of those, thankfully, very rare, unfortunate accidents. I think that, you know, we wanted to make sure that nothing that was done on that track was any remotely the cause of it. Our safety stewards, Louis Hardehy, I talked to him first. He said, you know, everything was right, everything was done right. There was no outside influence to make these horses do what they did. So, you know, the safety protocols that we have for the morning were certainly being followed.
How does this end up getting handled differently in light of what's been going on in Santa Anita?
Well, we've obviously made it very clear that we're not Santa Anita, that what happened at Santa Anita was unfortunate, obviously, but it was a tough, wet winter for them, and not every decision was the correct one. We, for the last 2 years, have had most of these protocols in place. We redid the surface of the racetrack starting 3 years ago, and we've put in more vets. We've done. We put protocols in for training where only in the morning training hours the workers have 10 minutes by themselves out there. That's primarily for this type of thing. So we've done a lot of that. I mean, mainly the vets, the medication protocols, the new ones that are coming in. We've adopted the international safety standards of medication, which are the toughest.
Yeah, I
But-
think it's important to say that, you know, this is an accident with horses. As somebody who was raised on a horse ranch and around horses, young horses do silly things. It's the same whether you're on the racetrack or whether you're on the ranch. And just like adolescent humans, they are more prone to accidents. We all recognize that a loose horse on the racetrack is a danger. That's why we put on the red lights. That's why the riders pull up to the outside. This happened too quickly to avoid that. From our review of the analysis of the situation so far, all the safety protocols were followed, and everybody responded very quickly to this loose horse incident, but it just happened too quickly. Horses move fast, they're big and heavy.
Take just one more question. Joe, how do you explain to a public that has a perception of horse racing that this was really nothing more than a wrong-way driver on an interstate?
Well, I think that's exactly what you say. It's like a wrong-way driver on an interstate. It's like the guy took the wrong lane by mistake. You know, it's just an accident, and it's a horrible accident. And fortunately, they're very, very rare. But you know, in light of all what's been going on at Santa Anita, it certainly gets a lot more attention, and that's why we're here, to try to explain to you, everybody, that it was an accident.
What can you tell the people?
That's it.
That
We're
is
done.
not a
We're
perception?
finished. We're done.
I mean, just
We're done.
not to take the wrong perception about it. What can you tell the people about that?
I think the perception is very clear. This was an accident, and a regrettable, unfortunate, no one's to blame, but it was an accident. And that's all we can really say. Thank you.
Go ahead, please. One question.
Okay, Dr. Arthur, just one quick one. You said there was a clinical exam. I know that's probably fairly preliminary, but was there any mitigating factors that showed up in that other than the violence of the collision that was a factor in the deaths?
It certainly was a traumatic event where two horses had a collision, where both of them were moving at fairly high speed. We're talking about animals over 1,000 pounds, so you can imagine the force involved. So certainly that's all we can evaluate at this time, and we'll know more after the necropsy is completed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Sorry.
Sir.
Rick, just one thing.